All right, let's talk about ancient Egyptian medicine. Now, when you hear that, you're probably thinking of magic spells, gods, that kind of thing. But what if I told you their medical books read like a modern-day surgical handbook? That's what we're digging into today, this incredible mix of magic and seriously methodical science. So let's just jump right in with a question that gets to the absolute heart of how they saw the world. What in the world do the stars of Orion have to do with brain surgery? I know, it sounds completely unrelated, but believe me, for the ancient Egyptians, that connection was everything. You see, to even begin to understand their medicine, you first have to understand their cosmos. We have to look up at their sky. Their entire view of the world was built on this one huge idea, that life on Earth was a direct mirror of what was happening up in the heavens. And this is what's so fascinating. You have these two sides to their healing that seem like total opposites, but for them, they were partners. On one side, you've got this deeply spiritual world. They're calling on gods like Thoth and the fierce goddess Sekhmet, using magic spells for healing. But then, on the other side, you have this incredibly rational scientific practice. Clinical observation, surgery, and a pharmacy that would blow your mind. This idea of as above, so below was everywhere, and it's the answer to our opening question. They truly believed the Nile River flowing through their land was just an earthly version of the Milky Way. And get this, the layout of the Giza pyramids? It's a perfect match for the 3 stars in Orion's belt. Orion to them was the god Osiris, the symbol of rebirth. So this divine cosmic order wasn't just for building pyramids. They believed the human body worked the same way. To be healthy was to be in harmony with the entire universe. Okay, so let's come down from the stars and look at the hard evidence. The amazing thing is, we know all this not from myths and legends, but from their actual medical records, these incredibly detailed texts written on papyrus. This is where it gets real. And there are 2 big ones you need to know about. First, you've got the Edwin Smith papyrus. Think of this as a no-nonsense surgical textbook for trauma, like for soldiers or injured construction workers. It is shockingly logical. It walks through 48 different cases, starting from the head and moving down the body, and there's almost zero magic in it. Then you have the Ebers papyrus. This one's more like a general medical encyclopedia, and it perfectly captures that 2-sided approach we talked about. It's got over 800 remedies, and yeah, some are magical incantations, but they're sitting right alongside very practical treatments. This tells you right away, they weren't just guessing. They had a system, a protocol that honestly feels like it could be from today. Step 1, listen and examine. The doctor would actually observe the patient's symptoms using their eyes and hands. Step 2, diagnose. They would state a formal diagnosis based on what they found. And step 3, prognose and treat. They declare the likely outcome and then lay out a clear plan for treatment. It's structured, it's methodical, it's science. And they were incredibly realistic about those outcomes. The Edwin Smith papyrus basically lays out a battlefield triage system. The doctor would give one of 3 verdicts. The first, an ailment which I will treat. Translation, I can fix this. The second, an ailment with which I will contend. Basically, the odds are iffy, but I'm gonna fight it. And then the third, which is just amazing, an ailment not to be treated. They were honest enough to say, this is beyond my ability to fix. That shows a stunning level of professional integrity. And if you need any more proof of just how sharp their observations were, get a load of this. This is how the Edwin Smith papyrus describes the surface of the human brain. It looks like the corrugations which form in molten copper. Wow, that is the first known description of the brain's wrinkly surface in all of human history. It's just so precise and kind of beautiful, isn't it? So they clearly had the diagnostic side down. But what did they actually do for their patients? Okay, let's open up the ancient Egyptian doctor's bag and see what was inside. All right, this is where things get really mind-blowing. Their pharmacy was way ahead of its time. They would put moldy bread on infected wounds. Sound gross? Well, that mold was penicillin. They were using antibiotics thousands of years before we discovered them. For pain and swelling, they used willow bark, which we now know contains the active ingredient in aspirin. They'd pack wounds with honey, a powerful natural antibiotic we're actually rediscovering today. Even incense wasn't just for rituals. It's a known anti-inflammatory. I mean, the track record is just unbelievable. And their skills with a knife were just as sharp. We're talking about competent orthopedic surgeons. We found mummies with perfectly healed fractures that were set with splints. They knew how to stitch up gaping wounds with linen thread. And their surgical toolkit wasn't just a rock and a stick. They had specialized knives, swabs, and even fire drills they used to cauterize wounds to stop the bleeding. And here's a fun one. Believe it or not, they had specialists. It wasn't just a one-doctor-fixes-all situation. We have records of eye doctors, stomach doctors, even dentists. But the absolute best job title, hands down, has to be the proctologist. They were known as a shepherd of the 8S. You can't make this stuff up. It just shows you how organized their medical system really was. So, what was their theory of how the body actually worked? Well, it was all built around a system they called the Michu. They imagined the heart was the center of this big network of channels or vessels that ran to every single part of the body. And these channels didn't just carry blood. They thought they carried everything. Air, blood, tears, waste. It was basically their model of the body's internal plumbing system. And traveling through that plumbing system was something they called wickadoo. This was their big idea for what made people sick. They thought wickadoo was a kind of poison or pain substance that started in your gut and could travel through those Metu channels, causing trouble wherever it ended up. So a lot of their treatments, like laxatives and enemas, were all designed to flush the wickadoo out of your system. So what does this all add up to? Well, this ancient system wasn't just some historical oddity. It's a direct ancestor of modern medicine. You can actually see its fingerprints all over the things we do today. Let's look at that direct line from their world to ours. This has to be one of my all-time favorite examples. The Egyptians had a pregnancy test. A woman would urinate on some barley and wheat seeds. If they sprouted, she was pregnant. It sounds like total folklore, right? Just a myth? Except in 1963, scientists actually tested this, and they found it was about 70% accurate at detecting pregnancy. Turns out, hormones in a pregnant woman's urine really can make seeds grow faster. They had no idea why it worked, but they had observed that it worked. Incredible. And let's just let this number sink in for a second. 4,000 years. For 4,000 years before Alexander Fleming and the official discovery of penicillin, Egyptian doctors were saving lives by putting moldy bread on wounds. They were practicing antibiotic medicine. It's just humbling. So when you put it all together, their legacy is just massive. That whole idea of examining a patient, making a diagnosis, and then giving a prognosis, that started with them. Their pharmacy was stocked with real working drugs that we understand the science behind today. Things like setting bones and stitching wounds are still with us. Even the whole idea of having specialists, a heart doctor, a stomach doctor, has roots that go all the way back to the Nile. And all of this brings us back to that central idea. The ancient Egyptians saw absolutely no conflict between saying a prayer and writing a prescription. Both were tools for healing. Both were part of the same process. And that leaves us with a really big question to think about. If science and spirituality were once such powerful partners in the art of healing, what, if anything, might we have lost by pulling them so far apart?